Okay, so I'm going to start modelling some of these neighbouring buildings using massing. And so I'll start in the site with image view. And then on the massing and site tab, I'm just going to go to in place mass. And I will give it a name. I'm going to call it neighbours in place mass. Okay, so neighbours or neighbouring buildings, but I think neighbours is okay. And then you'll have the massing tools. Yeah, so because these buildings are largely rectangular, actually, a lot of them are just rectangles, I think. I'm going to start with that. So on the Create tab, you can see you've got the Draw panel, which has all of your basic shapes. And then if you click on the rectangle button, it should highlight model. Make sure it does do model lines for you once you click on rectangle. And then change it from Draw on Face to Draw on Work Plane. That's really, really important. Okay, so you'll see that option next to the Draw panel, Draw on Work Plane. And then I'm just going to click 2 points to make a rectangle, just by eye tracing over that outline of the building there. Okay, and so then I'll snap to here. That looks pretty good. I'm going to check it in a different view to see how those lines are lining up. That looks pretty good to me. And I'll even go to a 3D view just so that I can see the rectangle. So that's one difference you might notice straight away between the solid modelling method you might have used previously and this mass modelling method. That's a 3D line. Now I can select it and you'll see that it's all one shape. So all 4 lines, if I click on any of them, all 4 get selected. And now to give it a height, you can just click on Create Form and that'll extrude it. Okay, so that's most of it done. I can use the arrow at the top to stretch it. If it goes away, you can simply click on that top surface again. And then again, use the blue arrow to change the height if you need to. Now, if it won't give you the top surface, just hover over it, or on the edge even, on any of the edges on the top, and you can use Tab until it gives you the surface you want.
Sorry, how did you give it the height again?
Just by stretching it using the blue arrow. Oh, to give it the height in the first place, Create Form. Yeah. So just, yeah, solid form. Okay, so if I go into a look at the photos, let's just see. So that one, I mean, it's not far off the height, and it basically is a rectangular facade there. It's got a gable just like the one next door, and you can model that separately afterwards. So I might start just with the box there, and I'll get that top surface using Tab. And just by eye, I'm going to stretch that so it's similar to our building. Maybe a little bit higher. There we go, so that's close enough. Okay, so I'll maybe just do a quick little shape for the parapet, the gable, and I'll do that using a new shape. So I'm going to use line this time. And then I'm going to change it to Draw on Face. Okay, so that way I can highlight. You can see there it's highlighted the front of the building when I move the cursor around. So you've got to look out for the face that it's highlighting. That's the top, that's the front. And so I'm going to make sure it's highlighting that front when I do my first point. I don't need to do it on the edge, even though I want this to line up with the edge in the end. I just need to get it to start on that surface. And this is pretty rough, so I'm just going to draw it by eye so it's got the basic look that I want, which is to have something just indicative. There we go, that's good enough. And then I'll draw another line just to close that off. Sorry, do that again. So I'll make sure they're joined. You can always use trim to corner just to check if they're joined together. They look, yep, they're joined already. And then because this was drawn sideways, I'll just bring that edge up. So you can always, now to select an individual edge, the trick is to select the shape first and then just click on the edge you want again. So that's got the bottom. And I can just drag that and it will line up with the top. Okay, I might check in the elevation view. So I've got a east elevation where I can see that. I can tell it's not symmetrical there, so I might just select that line, and then again I'll click on one of them to adjust that angle. So that's good enough for now. I can easily adjust that afterwards. But I just want to give you a basic idea, drawing profiles that aren't parallel to the ground. And so then with that shape selected again, just like before, I can go to create form. It'll make it an extrusion. This time I want that to go back behind the building, so I'm going to use the red arrow this time to stretch that back the other way. And that gives me the basic outline that I need. So I can use join and join those two forms together to make it appear as one. But that's optional. So continuing and doing some more massing for the other buildings, we've got another one over here that's a similar sort of thing. Okay, so I'll do another box just to get the basic outline of the building. So going to maybe the plan again, site with image, because we can see the building there. And then again on the Create tab, in the Draw panel, rectangle. This time, instead of Draw on Face, I'm going to go back to Draw on Work Plane, so it starts on the in line with the ground level. And then again, just snapping. Yeah, I think here I'll take it to line up with the building instead of the photo. It's close enough anyway. Okay, so then into my 3D view, I'll just check that rectangle, create form. And so if you're going to the down arrow there, it's solid form, but if you don't click on that, you can just click when you go to the top part of the button, it'll do solid anyway. Okay, so looking at the image, again, we've got the parapet basically in line with the with our building, so I'll stretch it. Again, just making sure I get the top surface. Stretching then should snap. So you can see there that's close but not quite, so I'll again just stretch it a bit further. Okay, so then I'm going to have a go at drawing the triangular shape just to get an outline of that parapet form, or gable. So with the line tool, again, I'm going to switch from Draw on Work Plane to Draw on Face. This time I'm just going to get the one line from that front surface there and coming up at the angle roughly, again, probably about 30 degrees. So let's just change the angle of the view there so you can see that a bit better. Okay, so about 30 degrees, I think it is, maybe 35. Again, just indicative. And this time, because I want to make that symmetrical from the beginning, I'm going to select the line. So I've just cancelled with Escape to finish drawing. I can select the line then and use Mirror Draw Axis and simply snap to the midpoint of the front there. Take it up or down, doesn't matter which way you go, as long as it's 0 degrees. Oh, sorry, 180 degrees to give you a straight. There we are, horizontal. Okay, so I've got a symmetrical copy, which I can join using trim to the first one. Notice how now they come up as one shape. So you've got to realise Revit's doing all these things behind the scenes to connect things when it thinks they should be connected. And then I'll simply just draw a line connecting the bottom. Notice I'm not doing it along this edge because it won't be clear then which surface it belongs to. But if I draw from the bottom over to the one on the other, to the edge on the other side, it knows then that it belongs to this face on the facade. And then afterwards I can bring that bottom up, either just selecting the shape first and then clicking on the line then to select it. And then I'll move that up just by dragging. Okay, so again I can then just select that triangle now, create form and drag it back to give it a bit of depth. Okay, so something like that. It's close enough for now. And then with join geometry, again, I can make those appear as one form. Well, that's actually going flat, so you've got to get it from the front. So just click on the line button. That one. Yeah, and then go to that one. Draw on face, and then start on the actual surface, so it knows where you are. Yep, that's it. Yeah, see how it's highlighting that surface, and then you get the angle. Yep, that's it. Yep, no worries. So yeah, or 35, I think it was in the end. But whatever looks good to you, doesn't really matter. So I'll just go into the 3D view I had of the street before. And you can see now we've got those surfaces coming in. It's really starting to look a lot better in context. But just to finish off with the massing, if I finish the mass now, okay, they're done and they're obviously showing up at the moment. But if I go to massing and site, you'll see the first button there is the toggle to turn massing on and off. So I'll click on that, save the project, and now disappear. Click on it again, and it brings them back. So it's like an extra display mode that lets you, toggle your massing on and off. And so that way you can use it when you need it, and they might not be necessary, or you might not want them in some of your views, so that's an easy way of toggling them on and off. Also later you can look at building things up from the mass and using the model by face. You've got these options for modelling from those mass elements. But for now that'll at least give you something that will go around the building, and that way in your sections and other views. Okay, so looking at the sections, we can start to see how it works with the the adjoining buildings. So we've got it there, you can just see it there. Maybe the cropping's too much now, so I'll bring that out. Okay, so we can start to see those things in those other views. And then maybe just to finish that off and make it look a bit more presentable, if you wanted to start showing walls there instead of just this block form, the final thing using this model by face with the wall tool now, I can go to any of these generic walls. It doesn't really matter for this if you get the thickness exactly right, so I'll just use generic 300. Finish face exterior for the location line, and then now my mass is still floating, so might cancel that actually, and then select my mass, and then go to edit and place. Then I'm going to select the bottom surface this time. So I'm using tab to cycle and make sure it highlights the bottom. Okay, so selecting that, and now I can just stretch it and it will snap, so that or even going lower than the ground is probably good here. Doing it in a section view would be a good idea if you want that to be more accurate. But there we go, that's snapped to the bottom of the floor. That's pretty good actually, so that way it's going down as low as our building. And this one here, I've got to use tab again to get that bottom edge, and again I can drag that down. Finish mass. And it will take a bit of getting used to, but it's definitely worth trying this approach to modelling. And so then back to massing and site now, I can go and use, in model by face, the wall tool. There's my wall type already selected, finish face exterior, and now I can just pick, and you can see then it's going to really quickly put walls for all those outlines. The front surface there will just do one wall shape. You can see you don't have to go and make the profiles to get your parapets and things like that. It just does it all for you. Okay, so there we are, really quick outline, and then I can now go and turn the mass off or hide it using that toggle at the beginning, show mass. And then going to the sections now, it's even better. So that's giving a really good idea what's happening. Okay, I know you could do that probably more easily using the regular solid modelling that you've been doing, but it's a really good thing to try, because that massing is well, very different system to the solid modelling that you've been doing already, and it's the only way you can do some things. So the really complicated forms that you've seen, I'm sure, in Revit, that's how they do them. But I'll just finish off with the perspective view there, so you can see now that's going to show even better what's around. Maybe just one little trick I can show you to finish off. You can see then all the tools are greyed out. Any idea why? Yeah, so I'm still in the, well, it's because I'm in a perspective view. So if I go to a 3D non-perspective view, it's all going to come up again. So it was just that perspective that stopped me from getting those. But I can still adjust the crop region there, so I can bring that up and bring this in if I want to. Okay, so just make sure you're aware of that. Not everything works in perspective in Revit, and this can come up too. I probably don't want all of those existing neighbouring buildings, but yeah, definitely good to give some idea of what's around it. Alright, so if it's not working for you at all, you can still use solid modelling, and using the okay, so don't forget about the regular modelling tool, model in place, and then using any other category. And if you're not sure which one to use, just use generic models. And you can get extrusions and blends and all those other tools that way, and model those block forms using those tools, but I won't do that. But like I said, massing is a really interesting thing and could be useful for other things you do. But I might just finish that there. Give some time to do that.